So hi, very good morning and warm welcome to you. So I hope you all are good. So going to start with the session of the history. So I would just start with one word, that life can only be understood when you look backwards. And moreover, life must be lived looking forward. So what is in it related to the history? In reality, you need to understand your past to build a better future. That's quintessential, that if you don't know your past, so then you are a half knowledgeable person, or in fact, you are not knowing your identity. So in fact, if I ask you, who are you? How I can know about you? It's only looking at your past. And if your parents have given you a particular name, it's not something that you were born with a name. It was given by your parents. And your parents, they were given a name by their parents. So if somebody asks you your family history, what is it? It's your past. And you are defined by your past. And you're defined by your lineage. So from where you get to know about your lineage? From your past. Then moreover, what about the history? Why it is important to study history? It's a very important portion. In fact, very important portion to not only understand the past, but also not to repeat the mistakes of the past. And moreover, history is repeated, history is created, and history is made. So history is one such topic which is always there in the news, and it is very important in the politics also. So this subject is something which holds a very important position in your paper, be it prelims paper, be it mains paper, and even in the interview stage also. And as far as the number of the questions and everything is concerned, we'll be having a discussion on it. But then I just need to tell you something more, a little bit more about the history. So for example, that whatever progresses that we see today, it is a learning from the past. So for example, that if you are ill and you are getting treated with a doctor, so how doctor is treating? The past research which has been done. Then how the buildings are made, the past inventions which have been done. So everything which has been done in the past, if you remove that past, how come you will be guided in the future? So it is very important to know about your past. So let's start with, this is important topic, and moreover, let's start with the different aspects of the history which was being asked in the prelim stage of exam or mains stage of exam, and so as the in fact interview, though we cannot say, but then they do ask questions in the interview also. Basically, they're your family background, your district background, your that state background. So I hope all of you are aware about the 3 stages of exam. I don't need to tell you. Take care. Prelims, mains, and interview. So when it comes to all the 2 stages, basically the writing stage, and that is prelims, and today is the day of the prelims also, fortunately. And let's see that how it is unfolding, how many questions are going to come from any particular section, or particularly the history. So history has the sections like ancient history, medieval history, modern history, and so as one of the part is the post-independence history. And it is not history but post-independence development, and then the world history. So, and in these all historical aspects, there is an inherent topic which is the art and culture. So these all come under the category of the history. I'll go into the explanation of the syllabus, but before that, let me tell you last 5-year trend of the number of the questions from the history part. So basically, when we talk about the prelims examination, so in prelims examination, 2 parts of the history are not asked. They are not part of the syllabus. That is the post-independence part, and so is the world history. This is only mentioned in the mains stage of exam. But The prelims stage of exam will include your ancient, medieval, modern Indian history and art and culture. So as far as last 4-year paper is concerned, last year it was lesser number of the questions from the history part. So out of the 100 questions asked in the prelims paper, only 13 were from history. Then in 2022, there were total 14 questions from the history. But then uske pehle, before 2021, 17 question, and before that in 2020, 19 question. If I have to tell you the 10-year average number of the question from the history, so it is 18. So out of 100 questions in the prelims paper, 18 question you get from the history, which includes, once again I'm emphasizing, ancient, medieval, art and culture, and so as the modern Indian history. As far as the division of these topics are concerned, so generally they ask 2 questions from the ancient, 2 questions from the medieval, and ancient is given a little bit of more weightage sometime. Then after art and culture, 5 to 6 question, and so as 5 to 6 question is the modern. So art and culture and modern share same space, but then ancient and medieval near about 3 to 4 questions generally they ask. But in last 4 year, ancient and medieval questions are that they have asked one extra question, additional question. So sometimes they have asked 4, sometimes they have asked 5. So this is what is about the prelims exam. But then mains we will go later on. But first of all, let's start with the all topics. So very first one, that is ancient history. So what is there in the syllabus? From where do they ask the question in the ancient? It all starts from the prehistoric times. Prehistoric meaning Stone Age. Then when the human beings were using the stone tools for their survival, killing the animals and feeding on those animals which they are killing from the stone tools. So Stone Age, it all starts from the Stone Age, then it passes on to, after the Stone Age, there is a development of the civilization in India, and that civilization, what we call Indus Valley civilization. Then, so Indus Valley civilization expands is from 2600 BC to 1800, and by 1800 it completely disappeared. Then after, the next area which you will be studying in the ancient is basically the Vedic age, starting from the 1500 BC and going till the 6th century BC. So Vedic age, different developments, religion, polity, society, economy, these all sections are asked in this particular part. Then after moving on from the Vedic society, the next is the development of the Mahajanpadas. Then, so 16 big territorial states have emerged in India, and one of the very powerful state was the Magad. Then Magad, but then there are other states also like Kasi, Kosala, Anga, so many are there, Avanti, then Gandhara. So most important was the Magad. But moreover, also understand that 6th century BC is also known for the development of, or the new reform movement in India, that is Buddhism and Jainism. Then, so Buddhism and Jainism. So basically, when we talk about our courses, so we keep Buddhism and Jainism in art and culture, and here rest of the part we cover in the history. But understand, these are the sections from where UPSC regularly asks question, and in fact, Buddhism and Jainism is one section. It is said that UPSC prelims paper would be incomplete if there is no question from the Buddhism and Jainism. Then, so every year you will find at least one question from the Buddhism or Jainism. Then, and in fact, Buddhism is asked more frequently, and Jainism, so if there will be 2 questions of Buddhism, so 1 question of the Jainism. So most important is the Buddhism. Then, out of the 16 Mahajanpadas, then the most important Magad, and it annexed all the other Mahajanpads, big territorial states. So Magad history is basically what you are reading from the 6th century onwards, and the different dynasties which ruled in the Magad. So for example, one of the earliest dynasty which was there at this time was the Nanda dynasty. Then Nanda followed by the Shishunag. Sorry, the first dynasty was Haryanka, and Haryanka followed by Shishunag, then Nanda, then Maurya. So Maurya rule comes to the culmination at the time of the Ashoka. Then, and after the demise of the Ashoka, there is a decline. So in this period, see, I'm just telling you that the dynasties also, but what has been asked from these all sections. So most important part or most repeated theme from this part, Mahajanpad history, is the Ashoka's inscriptions. Then Asoka's edicts and inscription, and socio-economic initiatives of the Ashoka. And then after comes the post-Maurya age. So post-Maurya age is basically the age after the Mauryas, because Mauryas were one centralized ruler in India. After their demise, there was no central leadership and there was a fragmented polity, meaning pura ka pura India have gone into the hands of many dynasties. Then some of these dynasties were indigenous, meaning Indian origin, and some of these dynasties were foreign origin. Then, so foreign origin were the Indo-Greeks, Scythians, Parthians and Kushanas. And on the other hand, in the Indian dynasties, it included Shunga and Kandvas and Satvahana. So this period is basically from 200 BC to roughly 250 AD. So you read, in this particular part, you read about the different economic, socio initiatives, and questions are asked from it. Even the coinage questions are also asked from this particular period. On to the next thing after it is the emergence of a big empire in northern India, that is the Gupta period. So Guptas, though emergence in 250, but the real foundation in 319 AD, and Guptas continue till 550. So till 550, so Guptas are one of the most frequently asked people in the UPSC exam. So for example, the type of the question that they do ask, that different type of the social initiatives, society during that period, their political setup, what kind of administrative divisions were there. Then apart from it, they ask about their ports also. Okay? Port is one of the favorite question of UPSC. Very often, every alternate year, they do ask some of the unique ports of the different kingdoms of India. So they ask about the ports. Then they asked about different kind of taxes which were implemented. Then some terms and terminology they ask. Then that they will give you a term. For example, they will give you a term like Fadam, Arghat, and then you need to identify the meaning of it. So Gupta is not only it is important in the prelims exam, but in mains also they have asked about the administrative aspect related to the Gupta and art and architecture aspect related to the Guptas. So Gupta is an important topic. On one hand, Guptas are the rulers in the northern India. At the same point of time, there were the contemporaries of the Gupta in the South India, who were also whose rule is also considered as very glorious. And these dynasties are Sangam age dynasty. So the name of the three Sangam age dynasties are Chera, Chola and Pandyas. So they are covering the area of the Kerala, Tamil Nadu and the Andhra and parts of Karnataka. So these three dynasties, if I look at the 10-year paper of the prelims, so what they have asked in this 10-year paper of basically from this particular Sangam age dynasty, so the Sangam literature, which is basically related to the Tamil literature, and so as the ports of these kingdoms, and moreover some of the official position names also. So for example, one year a question was asked that what is the meaning of the word Iripatti? Then, so it's a very simple, straightforward information. And history, history is like either you know it or you don't know it. There is no other way out. Then, if the factual questions are asked, ya to pata hai, ya to nahi pata hai. Okay? And sometimes UPSC gives you scope for the elimination, but only you will be able to eliminate only when you have some strategic information. ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ भी नहीं पता है तो भी eliminate कर लोगे. So you need to have some strategic information. And what is strategic information? So that's what we call that some of the facts are strategic. If you know that, so it helps in elimination. But then I hope you must have heard or you must have witnessed that last year paper prelims ka, it eliminated the elimination method. Then so it means that facts would be either you are knowing it or you don't know it. So in that sense, you cannot play with the elimination. Just go straight forward. You know it, mark it correct. You don't know it, leave the question. So now moving on further. So Sangam-Age dynasties, these are the questions which are asked. After the Sangam-Age dynasties, there are other dynasties also. So north-south, there is a divide. So for example, that in the North India, after the end of the Guptas, emergence of the Harshvardhan's dynasty, and it is known as Pushyabhuti dynasty. Then questions are also asked about the Chinese travelers, Buddhist travelers who have come to India, and particularly from the Harshvardhan's time. Then on the southern side, contemporary of the Harshvardhan is Chalukyas and Pallavas. Their main contribution is temple architecture. So temple architecture is asked. Then after we come to the northern India and the three dynasties in the north, that is Pratihar, Gurjar, Pal dynasty, and the Rashtrakoot dynasty of the central India. So these dynasties, they do ask some of the initiatives or some of the important developments at that time. And the last dynasty of the ancient India is the mainline Chola dynasty. So their administration is also asked, and their initiative related to the temple development is also asked. So this is the story of the ancient India, or these are the areas which you will be studying in this particular section. What about the medieval India? Medieval India is very straightforward. It has Islamic dynasties and then the regional dynasties. So we generally divide the medieval India into Delhi Sultanate and the Mughal period. Delhi Sultanate from 1206 to 1526, and then after 1526 to 1707 is the Mughal India. So in between, when these two dynasties are there, so that is the time when many regional dynasties are also there in India. So regional dynasties, one of the most important is the Vijayanagar kingdom. And UPSC's favorite is Vijayanagar kingdom. They, every third year, they do ask a question from the Vijayanagar kingdom. And so as one of the contemporary of the Bahmani, but Bahmani they don't ask. Then in last 10 years, I haven't seen any question from the Bahmani. But then they have repeatedly asked from the Vijayanagar. But then apart from it, there are many such small regional dynasties also, like Kakatiyas, like Hoysalas, so like Pandyas of Mabar, Yadavas of Devagiri. So these small regional dynasties are also asked sometime. Moreover, एक और चीज याद रखना है आपको, that one of the very important thing in the ancient and medieval history is to understand the timeline. If you have crammed the timeline, mark my words that you will be definitely able to solve 1 to 2 questions in the prelims examination, and you will be ahead of many people who are preparing for it. So one must be very much well versed. So you need to be well versed with the timeline and timeline if you have prepared, so you can be rest assured that you will have a better understanding of the ancient and medieval. So this is the section. From this section, they do ask question in the mains also, and in mains from the root of the art and culture. So this is what is about the first part. Let's move on to the next part. That is ancient medieval ho gaya. Let's move to the modern Indian history. So modern Indian history syllabus has 2 parts. Understand. The very first part is basically the developments in the pre-modern India or pre-British India. So basically, the first part of the modern history includes the developments related to the advent of, so very first part is the advent of Europeans. See, when we read about the colonial history, so colonial history is all related to the British arrival only and arrival of the Europeans only.
Looking for an effective plan to begin your essay mains preparation? Adopt the structured approach of pre-decided themes and develop sharp essay writing skills. Break down complex topics to articulate your thoughts with logic and clarity. Enroll in the Vision IAS Essay Enrichment Program starting from 27th June, 1 p.m. Build your essay writing skills into your biggest strength.
So, the arrival of the Europeans, it all started in the end of the 15th century when Vasco da Gama has entered India through a direct sea route. And then after 100 years, Passing 100 years, 1600 onwards, many companies have come to India, Dutch, English, French, then, and Danish East India Company. So we read about this particular part. And the interesting thing is that in last 10 years, the first 7 years, there was no question from the advent of Europeans. And last three years, 23, 22 and 21, भर भर के, हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ, भर भर के क्वेश्चन दिया है एडवेंट ऑफ यूरोपियन से. देन so see, it is all in the lap of the UPSC that when it want to ask which particular section, so you cannot neglect these all section. So it all starts from the advent of Europeans. After the advent of Europeans, it is rise of the British East India Company, its confrontation with the other European powers, and at the same point of time, when the Mughal power is declining. 1707 was the death of the Aurangzeb, and after that the sons of the Aurangzeb are better called as later Mughals because they didn't had the power like Aurangzeb, and in fact many of them didn't had the character also. So it led to the very fast decline of the Mughals. And when on one hand decline of Mughal is happening, many regional kingdoms are emerging and there is a rise of the British East India Company. So there is a tripartite struggle between them. So British are fighting with the regional kingdoms, and so as the decline of the Mughal kingdom is also happening, and then with the defeat of the regional kingdoms, rise of the British is happening. So which all big regional kingdoms British have defeated: Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad. Then they have established themselves in the Carnatic. Carnatic is basically the coastal area of the Tamil Nadu and Andhra. Then they have established themselves in the Mysore. Then finally in Maratha area, and last but not the least, Punjab. So that's how by 1857 they have completely occupied these all regional kingdoms. So the first part of the syllabus is there till the 1857 revolt. So till 1857 they have occupied this area, and in between this period they have come up with the many acts and policies. Then you study about their judiciary, their civil services, their police, their army, these all organization, and question do come from this section. But listen, in last 10 years, the questions have been more from the freedom struggle part, less from the first part of the syllabus which I have mentioned. If I have to segregate it, so I would say that 60% of the question were from the freedom struggle and 40% of the questions are there from this first part of the syllabus. But this first part of the syllabus will also include another thing. 1857 revolt to hai hi, but uske alawa there is socio-religious reform. So socio-religious reform will include reforms in Hinduism, reforms in Islam, reforms in Sikhism, and so as the reform in the Parsi religion. So from these all sections, in these reforms in these all socio-religious reforms from these all religions, 10% questions have been asked in the last 10 years. Meaning, agar jo maan lo कि that 10 questions have been asked every year in this particular section, so 10% of it is the socio-religious reform, and it is just like the Buddhism and Jainism. जैसे मैंने बोला तुम्हें that there is no paper of the UPSC in last 10 years where there is no question from the Buddhism and Jainism. So similarly, there is no paper whereby we haven't seen any question from the socio-religious reform. In fact, it is there every year. So every year, और कभी कभी थोड़े deep nature के question पूछ देते हैं, ठीक है? So this deep nature questions, sometimes it is not in your ambit. So in that situation, if you feel after doing all the regular study, if you feel it is difficult, so it is difficult for everybody else. Come to the next part of the syllabus. Next part of the syllabus in the modern itself is the freedom struggle. And freedom struggle, it is said that after 1857 revolt, the seed of the nationalism was implanted. And after the seed is implanted, so nationalism is growing. Many organizations, regional organizations have come up, and finally in 1885, foundation of the Indian National Congress. So with the foundation of the Indian National Congress, the Indian freedom struggle entered into its very first phase, which we call moderate phase. So basically what is mentioned in the syllabus, that different phases of the freedom struggle, okay? Important contributors and their contributions in the freedom struggle from the different parts of the country. Meaning UPSC is not sparing, okay? Or UPSC is not saying ki only from this part of the country, but from each and every part of the country, you need to know the most important personalities and their contributions in the freedom struggle. And what they said, ki different phases of the freedom struggle. So what are the different phases of the freedom struggle? देखो, there will be broadly there will be two divisions. एक तो non-violent phases and एक violent phases. So majority of the time we study about the violent phases and the non-violent phases we study generally, but what is the violent phases? Revolutionary nationalism. So where you study about the personalities like the V.D. Savarkar, then organizations like Abhinav Bharat, Anushilhan Samiti, then Bhagat Singh, Rajdev, then Sukhdev and Rajguru. So these all personalities you understand under the violent movements. But then what about the non-violent one, which are kind of the major feature of the freedom struggle? So 1885 onwards, many phases of the freedom struggle were there. The very first was the moderate phase till 1905. After 1905, Swadeshi movement, then 1915 Home Rule movement, then arrival of Gandhi in India and the beginning of the Gandhian movement. So Gandhian movement mein there are n number of the movements like non-Rowlatt Satyagraha, then non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and the final is the Quit India movement. So basically these are the different phases of the Indian freedom struggle, and these all phases, okay, are very important from the perspective of the exam, both the stages. So in prelims they often ask question from these all stages, kabhi non-cooperation se, kabhi CDM se, CDM is civil disobedience, or from the Quit India, or from Swadeshi. So last year there was a question from the Swadeshi movement, uske pichle saal there was a question from the Quit India movement. Then as far as the revolutionary movement or violent movement is concerned, so then in 2022 there was a question on the Gadar movement. Then so 60% of the question have been asked from this particular section. So you need to be very much aware about it. Now this is what is about the modern. Then एक और aspect understand करो that in the mains examination there are unique type of the questions also, whereby they ask comparison of the personalities also. So for example, last year पूछा था that Rabindranath Tagore and Gandhi's that views on international nationalism and education. Okay? In fact, earlier also they have asked about the differences between the Gandhi and Ambedkar and Gandhi and Bose. So this is also a one question which every second year or third year UPSC ask in the paper. So that is a separate. See, this type of the things you cannot find in directly in any of the books in the market. That this particular section is guided by your teachers, that they have understood and they accordingly classify the different views and then they deliver it to you. So if you are doing it your own, so you need to collect the resources related to it. Now let's come to the part of the art and culture. Art and culture is important in both the stage of exam, be it prelims exam or mains exam. अब इसमें क्या क्या आता है? What all things are covered in the art and culture? So it includes the art, architecture of India, and starting from the ancient time till the 1947. So Maurya period architecture, Gupta period architecture, medieval India architecture. So art and architecture. Then apart from it, it also includes the religion and philosophy of India. So as I said to you, Buddhism and Jainism we cover in this particular part. And philosophy like, so 6 heterodox philosophy, you must have heard some of the names like Sankhya, Yog to sabne suna hoga. Okay? So Sankhya, Yog, Nyaya, Vaisesika, Vedanta and Mimans Vedanta. So these are Charvak, Ajivika. So these are the philosophies that they ask. Then apart from it, another thing which is mentioned, classical forms of India, like classical dance and classical music, and language, literature and the paintings of India, and other traditional folk art forms of India. So folk art forms mein kya aa jayega? Theatre, then puppetry, then apart from it, what is the classical? So 8 classical forms of India, like starting from the Bharatnatyam, Kuchipudi, Kathakali, Mohiniyattam, Odissi, Satariya and Kathak. So from this section, every second year there is a question in the prelims paper, okay, from the classical dances, then classical music, Hindustani classical music, and the Carnatic classical music. And these art and culture is the area which is specifically asked in both the stage of exam. So यहाँ पे there is no escape out, that you will have to prepare it. And in the recent 4 years, the number of the art and culture questions in the mains examination has been more than the modern Indian history. Then, so, but generally, if I look at the 5-year paper, तो पिछले 5 साल में 12 questions were there from the art and culture in the mains paper and 13 questions were there from the modern Indian history. So almost similar. Then let's come to the section which is specifically only there in the mains examination. इसको आपको prelims exam में पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. You don't need to read this part in the prelims exam. So that is basically the post-independence development. So what is post-independence development? It could be anything, economical development related to the Indian economy, Indian polity, Indian history, everything, meaning the different regimes. So it will include the different phases of the history, like the initial phase of the Jawaharlal Nehru's prime ministership and the decision taken at that point of time, India-China war, India-Pakistan war, then after regime of the Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and then after the emergency, then Pakistan war, then different developments, then issue of the Punjab, okay, that Golden Temple issue. So different issues, Kargil, Pokhran, then. So these all developments you study in this particular part. But now understand, I would tell you one thing related to it, that 2013 was the very first year in which this particular part of the syllabus was introduced. Then, and 2013 के mains exam में they asked 3 questions from the post independence, but then उसके बाद after 2013 till 2023 only 1 question has been asked from the post-independence in the mains stage of exam. So for this section, I would always suggest to you that good class notes would be better. Don't run after any books. Then let's come to the world history. So what comes under the world history? So world history syllabus starts with the different revolutions in all over the world. For example, industrial revolution in the Britain. And then after the revolutions in the different countries like the French Revolution. Then after American Revolution. Then industrial revolution in Japan. So different revolutions they do ask. Then it's a kind of a very frequent question in the mains examination. Then apart from it, after these all revolution, different ideologies which shaped the politics of the global world. Then, and these different ideologies are basically like communist ideology, socialist ideology, then capitalism, then democratic capitalism. So these different ideologies, their emergence and how they have shaped the world politics. Then after, the another very important section in the world history is the discussion on the 2 world wars. Then the reasons, implications and the outcomes. Then so World War I in the second decade of the 20th century and World War II from 1939 onwards, which is leading to the creation of the UN, United Nations. Then, so these are the sections which are asked in the world history. As far as the number of the questions are the world history in the mains exam is concerned, it is also not very frequent. Then, so how they ask that 1 year they will be asking 1 or 2 questions, 2 साल तक कोई question नहीं, ठीक है? Then 3rd or 4th year, once again 1 or 2 questions, then no question. So infrequent number of the questions are there, but still it's not like the post-independence which has completely stopped. Right? So world history includes these all parts. Now this is the talk of the syllabus. Right? Then apart from it, I hope that you must be having questions related to what to study and what not to study. Obviously. So I just want to take a survey in the class that how many of you are just freshers, you are about to start the preparation. Raise your hands. Majority of you. And some of you are preparing from 6-8 months. I hope so. Take it? Not more than that. Or anybody who has given any such attempt of prelims? No idea? No one? Chalo, good. It's all fine. So let me ask you. For modern, have you purchased anything for study? No. So it's good that you haven't purchased. See, I would always suggest that without discussions, okay, and discussions and understanding what many toppers have also said, so uske bina kuch bhi kharidne mein indulge mat hona, okay? So let's start that what are the important texts that you can go ahead with. So let's start with the ancient history. and medieval history. So understand, until and unless you have history optional, please don't purchase any guidebook from the market. Then history optional है तो कोई guidebook खरीद सकते हो. But then if you don't have the history optional, so go with the NCRTs. Question is which NCRT? So NCRTs, so there are, I will prescribe one old NCRT to you and one new NCRT to you. So as far as the ancient India is concerned, in ancient India, class 11th old NCRT of Arya Sharma. Okay? Arya Sharma, Ram Sharan Sharma. So it is class 11th NCRT, market में easily available होता है. You can easily purchase it. Then should I write on the board? Or it's fine? Then because it will save time. So Arya Sharma, now understand one more thing, that when you're purchasing Arya Sharma, so then it is not only, okay, it is not only helping you in ancient India, but also in art and culture. Then one more NCRT I will suggest you, that is from the new NCRT. So this is the old NCRT which I have suggested. New NCRT में themes in Indian history part 1. Okay? And themes in Indian history part 1 is the new class 11th NCRT. You can download it from the NCRT website also. Then what about the medieval India? So medieval India, Satish Chandra, class 11th NCRT, old. Satish Chandra, class 11th, old NCRT. And then from the new one, themes in Indian history, part 2. It is also class 11th. Then, so it is also class 11th. Then, when it comes to the modern India, so in modern India, I would suggest one old NCRT and that too from the class 8th, not the class 12th. So class 8th old NCRT of modern India, and the name of the writer of the book is Arjun Dev. Arjun Dev. And at this place, I would not suggest the new NCRT of the modern. Okay? Rather, I would say that purchase one guidebook in the modern. So have you heard any guidebook? Guidebook जो UPSC के लिए स्पेसिफिक हो, दो ऑप्शन है तुम्हारे पास, ठीक है. परचेज, गो इन टू द मार्केट एंड देन आफ्टर लुक एट इट, नेट कौन सा कंफर्टेबल है, विच वन इज बेटर फॉर यू, अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड एवरीथिंग. सो देन you purchase just one, not the two. So basically it is the one is the spectrum, the modern India, brief history of the modern India spectrum, and the second one is the struggle for independence by Bipin Chandra and 4 writers. So there are 4 writers, that is Penguin publication, you must be very specific. There are many books of Bipin Chandra, but then you will have to, if you want to purchase, so you can purchase the Penguin publication book. So these 2 books will be sufficient, and I'm not saying that you have to study both of it, just choose one. Moreover, when you are purchasing spectrum, be very careful, all the chapters of spectrum are not to be read. So for example, unit 10 of the spectrum, it is post-independence India, जिसमें 300 pages हैं, ठीक है. So that post-independence India of the spectrum, not at all required. It's modern Indian history part, you can study if you want. And if you want to prepare at your own, so then this is the book list. I would not suggest any other book to you in this particular section. And see, I strongly believe in one thing, and my belief is also obviously the result of the experience, and so as the many such people whom I have taught all over India, and so all over India and so as in Delhi. So it's everyone's experience and everyone saying that minimize your number of the books, don't maximize. It is always better to read one book 10 times than 10 book one time. You will not be able to retain anything if you are reading 10 book one time. So read one book 10 times, your selection is ensured. But if you are reading 10 book one time, you are just kind of that getting diverted. So do this particular exercise in all the subjects, not this one. So you are here to become the district collector, not the book collector. Remember this thing. Then now let's move on to the next part, world history rahi or post independence. So I would always recommend to you that for post independence, good class notes would be better. So for example, that if you're enrolling in Vision, that's fine. If you're not enrolling, so then you can get those class notes. Obviously printed milta hai market mein. So go with the class notes. No, don't go with any book. I'll tell you the plight of the people in 2013 when the new syllabus was introduced and nobody knew that kahan se padhna hai, kaise padhna hai. So people were purchasing this much thick books of the world history and people were purchasing एक किताब थी इंडिया आफ्टर गांधी, रामचंद्र गुहा, एंड वो किताब को देख के ही बेहोशी आ जाती थी, एंड इट वाज दिस मच थिक. सो इफ यू आर स्पेंडिंग दिस मच टाइम ऑन अ बुक, इट्स नॉट वर्थवाइल. एंड सो जनरली क्लास नोट से अगर जो क्वेश्चन आना होता है सॉल्व हो जाता है, ठीक है. सो डोंट पेस्टर ओवर देयर. व्हाट अबाउट द वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री? सो फॉर वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री there are two NCRTs in class 9th and 10th, Story of Civilization, ठीक है, Arjun Dev, that you can refer. In fact, it is there in the Oxford publication also. So that particular book you can refer. And then moreover, if you have access to the Vision printed material, वो भी मिल जाता है market में. So Vision printed material is more than enough for the world history. Then, so किसी किताब को खरीदने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, ठीक है. उससे आराम से you can go ahead with this particular thing. Then, so this is what is all about the description. Obviously the sessions, the next session will just start. It is a geography session. So before that, I just want you, chalo, I'll tell you one more thing, that some pitfalls that you must not be there, that you must not be repeating. So for example, the people often refer that ki Tamil Nadu textbooks are very good, ठीक है, and people often say कि Tamil Nadu NCRT. Tamil Nadu NCRT नहीं होता है, Tamil Nadu textbook. Every state has its own textbook. Actually, it is good, particularly in history, but the problem is that the historical details are very different in both the parts. Then, so for example, that if UPSC have to solve a question or give an answer, will it refer to NCRT or any state book? NCRT, obviously it is the central body, so you will have to stick to the central body. And moreover, there are the places where the differences in the historical details are there in the NCRT and so as in the Tamil Nadu textbook. For example, I mentioned to you that Sangam age dynasties. So in Tamil Nadu textbook, the age span is more, but in the NCRT it is limited. There are difference in the information also. So always for this exam, for UPSC, you will have to stick to the NCRTs, not to any state textbook. And particularly in history. And history is a very sensitive topic, understand. History is a very sensitive topic, and in fact changes also happen, modification also happens in the textbook according to the changing regimes. Then, so little bit of modification happen. And moreover, I would also say one thing, that while see that in this exam, that history questions are as such that which are factual also, but at the same point of time, they're analytical also. And it also depends on that how beautifully you present your answer. So remember that you are doing your preparation with a coaching or not without the coaching, but you will have to develop a very good answer writing skill. And for that, you will have to practice large number of the questions. So your representation must be very good. Your language must be simple. It is never said and it is never suggested that your language while writing must be like Sasi Tharoorian English. ठीक है? Requirement ही नहीं है. ठीक है? एक बहुत simple सी बात है, सोच के देखना. You have studied from the colleges and universities. Is it the case that all your professors were so proficient in English? They had very good English. They had knowledge. But then it does not mean that they had very good command in English or a particular language. So see, the language must be simple. Language must be simple. Language इतना simple रखो कि किसी class 8 के student को भी समझ में आए. But ऐसा भी नहीं है कि language simple का मतलब है कि गाय पर निबंध लिख दिया. गाय हमारी माता है, हमको कुछ नहीं आता है, ठीक है? So not like this. It must be intelligent. Then it must be having some kind of beautiful representation. So make a note of it. Make a note of it that you have to do answer writing exercise, and in that particular sense you can take help of the many test series which are there in the market, or even if you're not taking the test series के questions उठा के खुद भी तो कर सकते हो, but then you need an evaluator, somebody who is seasoned who can evaluate your answers. So you must be doing this exercise in this particular part, and answer writing is very important in the history, particularly any of the part of the GS syllabus. Then,
Are you struggling to understand ethical theories and their practical applications? Many UPSC aspirants face this challenge when preparing for the ethics mains paper. To aid aspirants conquer it, Vision IAS presents the ethics case studies classes from 30th June, 5 p.m. Master the fundamentals of ethics with a clear, structured approach. Stay ahead by interlinking topics with current events and real-world scenarios.
so since you don't have many questions in this regard, so I would like to wind up this session, and I hope some of you are joining us for the upcoming classes then. So that believe, and if, in fact I can assure you, you have question, okay? So I can assure you that, chalo, okay, so there are 2 questions then, that it will be definitely a defining journey over here then. And moreover, not just the coaching, but also the dedicated preparation of UPSC is as such that it actually transforms your personality. If you are doing it in a shaky way, कि चलो सब कर रहे हैं तो हमने भी कर लिया यूपीएससी की तैयारी, ठीक है, सो घर पे कम से कम घर वाले बोलेंगे तो सही कि अरे बेटा हमारा यूपीएससी की तैयारी कर रहा है, डोंट डू इट. देन if you really want to become a civil servant and you really want to contribute something to the country, and then also obviously you really want something important for yourself, so indulge in this preparation, and this will transform what you are today. You will be very different on your knowledge level, on your personality level, on your maturity level, and that's what defines the success, not just clearing a particular exam. So 2 people have raised a question, hands. Quickly ask your question because the other faculty is waiting, so I'll have to go. Okay? So first, you raised your hand. Please ask. I already defined you. Art and culture sources. So as far as the art and culture sources are concerned, I would rather suggest that go with the class notes of the, and I would say this on the camera, it will go on YouTube also, my notes. Yes, definitely I would say it. Okay? Because you might not be knowing about me, but then many people know about me. It is me who created the entire scheme of the art and culture in the new formulation of the exam from 2013 when it was introduced. And I can say it very proudly that everyone, okay, I would use other word also, but then I'd say everyone, those who are teaching at the different places, either my students or they copy my notes. So you can go ahead with the notes. And then moreover, I'm also going to release my own book from one of the biggest publication house of the US by the end of this particular month. So you can, if you're comfortable, you can purchase my book, and then accordingly, you can contact me to know that which all chapters to read and which all chapter not to read. अगर जो coaching नहीं कर रहे हो तो उसमें मुझे contact कर सकते हो. And I'll give you my Telegram channel number. So it is, the name of the Telegram channel is the Culture Quantum. Right? So Culture Quantum, you can join that Telegram channel, and with the same name, there is a YouTube channel of mine where I conduct the culture important specific topics. In fact, it is one thing which is going to define the preparation of the culture. So for that, I will not suggest you anything, even a government textbook also. So that YouTube channel already I have covered. It's 2 months back I started, and already I have covered many of the topics of the history and culture. You can see, you can get enlightened with that also. Then, so your question. हाँ, वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री में स्टोरी ऑफ सिविलाइजेशन अर्जुन देव, एनसीईआरटी है ये, ठीक है? सो एनसीईआरटी है ये. हाँ, एक और बुक ऐड कर सकते हो वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री में. थीम्स, सो क्लास 12th वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री न्यू टेक्स्ट, नई एनसीईआरटी क्लास 12th की, ठीक है? That is only one history book is there in the class 12th in the new NCERT. That is also very good. Okay? So that also you can download from the website. Yeah. See, Vision has a pool of faculties. Then pool of faculties whereby in each and every subject there are 2-3 people. Then so they would be taking the classes. Okay? It's, I cannot inform it right now because that who will be taking modern or who will be taking ancient, but for sure some of the section of the history I'll be taking. Either it is ancient, medieval, or art and culture to sure hai, theek hai. When it comes to the modern, so we have 2-3 people. So all of them are having the equal expertise, so they will be better guide. Everyone would be a better guide. But then definitely I'll be coming for at least 2 sections in each and every batch. ठीक है? तो वो कभी मॉडर्न हो सकता है, आर्ट एंड कल्चर हो सकता है, या कभी आर्ट एंड कल्चर या एंशियंट मेडिवल हो सकता है. ठीक है? एंड समटाइम्स it is all the 3 subjects I'm there in a batch. ठीक है? So with this note, I'm ending this session, and I hope you must have got some insight. We'll be further interacting with different channels, and I hope you're joining Vision IAS. But then before going, I would just like to say one thing to you. Then, you know, since we were talking about the history, so there is one thing which is said about the past, that past is always tense, and future is always perfect. So you need to know your tense past. You need to cram your tense past to make your future perfect. So that's what is the importance of this subject. Hope to meet you all in the upcoming classes. Thank you, and very soon, geography faculty, Rajesh sir will be joining you. ठीक है? चलो, very thanks, and I'm very elated to see you all over here. Hoping to see you in the classes. चलो, bye, take care.